One of the reasons that we started Career Chats at LifeVidya was because we really wanted to reach out to people, to reach out to the youth, the teens, parents, and even children, younger children who have dreams of making a certain type of career or pursuing a certain field. And so often in my life, I have come across situations wherein people say, I wanted to be an actor, and my parents wouldn't think of it. Oh, I wish I could dance all my life. My life is dance. And yet here I am, I'm a chartered accountant. You hear these stories repeatedly and you go for performances, recitals, beautiful, beautiful renditions and theaters and plays of other people, not of your own. Because somewhere, somehow, this particular career has not come and has not been accepted as something which can be mainstream, which can be enjoyed, which can be financially stable, and which can make you successful. So I really wanted a space wherein we could have professionals, we could have successful people from different fields come across and share their story. Talk about what is it that made them choose a certain profession, inspire others, tell us their highs, tell us their lows, tell us what worked, tell us what didn't work, so that when we want to start a new journey, we are much clearer about what is it that we can look forward to. So that's what we're trying to do here at Life Vidya. It is a career coaching space, it is a personal growth space, and it's also a space where I welcome experts and people who can take out the time, who have the patience, and students and parents so we can interact. We can share those nuggets of wisdom which are otherwise lost. They are there in the world, but we haven't made them meet. So thank you so much for joining in today and welcome to this Career Chat series. Bhavani ma'am, thank you so much for coming here, for your kindness, for your patience, and for your willingness. That's what inspires me to come back to you and say, one more thing I want to ask you. Can I do this also? Really enjoy our interactions. And let me introduce her. I've put something in a slide. It doesn't do justice. But we have to do what we can do the best. She is a performer, a choreographer, and a teacher for more than 3 decades. So we are actually going to benefit from 30 years of experience that she's going to share with us. And she started training at the tender age of 4 years with some of the biggest of gurus, Dr. Rukmini Devi Arundel, Miss Prasanna Vadani, Savitri Jagannath Rao, big names, big teachers who really helped her grow. And she is doing this for others, for hundreds of students. She's nurturing that talent, that Indian heritage and culture. I really, really feel very inspired to have her in my community, in my friend circle, and as my daughter's guru. I really look up to her. And she's not just trained in Bharatanatyam dance, it's also Carnatic vocal music. And if you think it's only classical, she's also trained in Western music. So look at the versatility of Guru Bhavani Anantharaman. Thank you so much for coming here. And look at the titles: Bharati Natyamani, Shivali Nritya Shiromani, Kala Bodhikacharya from Sri Hayagriva and Lok Kala Manch, New Delhi. These are the accolades that Bhavani ma'am has won, and it's been such an inspiring journey for all of us who attend some of the performances. I will take just few more minutes, ma'am, to introduce Bhavani's Prasannalaya, and then it'll be over to you. So Bhavani's Prasannalaya, it was founded in the 1990 in Chennai. And as ma'am moved, the Prasannalaya moved. It moved to Mumbai in 95. And finally, it came to Noida, Delhi NCR in 2009. Now, I have witnessed some of the performances, and it is amazing. It is not just a Bharatanatyam recital. It's music, it's storytelling, it's drama. It's an amazing legacy of art that we are fortunate enough to witness and to see and be as her audience. And the last year, it's been path-breaking because Bhavani's Prasannalia performed at the Bharatanatyam festival at the Tanjore temple in the south. And that is one of the most amazing experiences that one could go through. Not just that, Bhavani ma'am, along with her senior students, and that is what is commendable, was part of the largest ever performance at Chidambaram involving more than 7,000 participants, which gave them a chance to be featured in the Guinness Book of World Records. Now, that is such an amazing journey, Bhavani ma'am. We are honored to have you here.
So, first of all, thank you, Vidya, for involving me in this beautiful initiative of yours. Do anything good to this generation, the younger generation, is really commendable, and you're doing a great job. And
Thank you so much, ma'am.
That you made me part of this. Thank you.
It's an honor. It's an honor, and thank you so much. Deep gratitude for this.
My journey was really a very, very happy journey. And I never felt even once that I'm learning an art form, I'm practicing an art form, I'm performing it, I'm teaching it. I never felt it this way. It was always it was a way of life for me. I'm Bhavani and the dance is with me. I never considered dance outside me, like I'm pursuing something, I'm learning something. It was never like that for me. It was always, it's part of everybody's life. Why should you even mention that I'm doing something? It has to be there. Dance and music is there in everybody's life, only that we don't really, listen to or see properly or clearly. That's it. And when you mentioned about this started learning dance in 4 years, I just would like to say something about that. It was not, I wasn't initiated into dance by my parent, my father or mother taking me to a dance teacher and leaving me there and then talking to the dance teacher. Nothing of that sort happened any time in my life. It was like, I was, how did my first interaction with dance itself was very interesting. My father had put me in a matriculation school. And those days it was not junior and senior KG, it was LKG and UKG, lower KG and upper KG. So he put me in lower KG, and I had this issue with, my soles and my hand palms would sweat like anything some days. So, my father had taken me to a doctor and he had asked me not to wear shoes for at least a month. So my father had produced a medical certificate to my school that he had requested them that she would come to school for a month without her shoes and socks. But the very first day, after producing this medical certificate, I was taken away from the assembly by the principal. He asked me to stretch my hand. I was given a beating with a wooden scale, and I was asked to wait outside the principal's room for an hour. And I came back home crying, and I had high temperature that evening. And then my father eventually came to know about this episode. The next day he went back, took my transfer certificate and brought me back home. There ended my schooling at that point in time. And then he said, I'm not taking her back. So my mother pleaded, he said, after a week's time, she can go back. I will go and explain and all that. My father was, the father-daughter bonding, a very special one. So he didn't want to send me back. So that's when I started accompanying my mother to all her music classes. In the afternoons, in the evenings, name it. Because I was at home. I was not going to school. So I was tagging along with my mother. She used to learn music. She was learning. She loved music and she had a beautiful voice, but she could not learn music in her childhood. So she was learning, wherever, because Chennai is a place where you can find music teachers and musicians in every street. So, she used to go search for teachers who would teach her Kshetrajñar padams. She would teach some padams, normal padams, and then ashtapatis and things like that. And she used to go and learn, and I used to tag along. And I used to sing all the songs, but I never used to know the words, but I used to sing the tunes of all the songs, whatever she learned. So that is how my journey in music started. In one such class, there used to be a beautiful girl who used to come and take dance classes. Uh, the music class would happen in one corner of that auditorium, and the other corner, it was a community hall. The dance used to happen. So I used to get up and go there, watch. And I started, she thought, I was going to join the class or something like that. She said, come start dancing. And my Aramandi used to be very good, I believe. Because Aramandi is something which, is so very important for Bharatanatyam. So I just started. And my parents didn't even know I had started the classes. She used to sing there and I used to go and dance there. That ended the matter. And one fine day, it was raining and my father had come with an umbrella to take me and my mother back home. And he saw me amongst those dancers, dance children. He was surprised. He said, she is supposed to accompany her mother to the music class. Where is she doing in the dance class? When he went and asked the teacher, she said, no, she's dancing very well. I think you should make her learn dance. But then, that I think was the moment that my father felt, he should do something with my dance and music. He already knew I used to hum music, the songs, whatever my mother used to sing. He knew I was interested in music, but that was the day he realized that I could be a dancer, like any other father. When a daughter says, I want to become an artist, there ends the matter. She has to become an artist, isn't it? Mothers are more practical. But that is how. And he was going to this library in Theosophical Society, where, for the children who are here, I would like to say that huge banyan tree, it was inside the Theosophical Society. And my father used to go to that library. That's how he got to know about Annie Besant, Dr. Rukmini Devi Arundale, and people who were associated with this Theosophical Society. And then he also came to know that Dr. Rukmini Arundale has started a dance art center, music, dance, and everything, Kalakshetra. And he also came to know that she has started this Montessori school. And I believe that it was the first school in the country. It was first started by Dr. Rukmini Devi Arundale, and it was inside the Kalakshetra premises. And then when he came to know about the methodology, Montessori method of teaching and things like that, he just fell in love with that school, and I was admitted there. That's it. So my first dancing lessons, my parents did not know when I started. No auspicious time, no auspicious day, nothing at all. And I just started. And after joining Kalakshetra, it was again another interesting episode where, we were, many of you must be aware of this Montessori method. It was a very different teaching methodology where the students are given a lot of freedom. And, that's again another story. I don't want to go into that. And then we were taken on field trips to the art center every week once. And they would ask the students to go and sit in the classes, whichever classes they liked. There would be art classes happening, music, dance, instruments like mridangam, violin, flute, and dance forms, different dance forms of Kathakali, Bharatanatyam, and everything. And every month, Rukmini Devi Arundale would visit our school, the Montessori section, and she would talk to us. And one such, session, I had raised my hand, and she was asking, like, what do you people like about the art section and things like that. I raised my hand and said, like, I loved the dancing part. And every day, if you take me there, I would love to go and sit there. So that was my answer. And she also asked me what exactly I liked about dancing. And, there was one particular scene that had really impacted me where, a gopi is walking with a pot in the front, and then Krishna standing behind her about 8 to 9 feet behind her, and picks up a stone and throws at the pot, and the pot breaks. See, the thing is, there was no pot, there was no stone, but the moment the stone is thrown, and then after a few seconds, the pot breaks, and that was a magic for me. How can somebody, without turning her head and She's not looking at Krishna. And how does she know that he's throwing the stone? And how exactly after 3 seconds she drops the pot? How does that happen? And I told her that I am not understanding this magic. So she told me, if you want to understand the magic, you have to really spend a lot of time learning dance. And then I said, yes, I want to learn. She wrote a letter, she put it in my bag, and she said, show it to your parents. And I forgot, totally forgot about it. And the next 2 days, I was taken to the dance section after my school hours. And I came home about an hour later. Like I used to come back home by 3:30. I was coming back around 5. And after a couple of days, my mother was really upset, like a 7-year-old, 6-year-old child, and she's missing the first bus and she's taking the second bus. Nobody is even bothered. Nobody is even informing us. So she and my father went there, and Dr. Shankara Menon was second in command in that school. You know, he was working with Dr. Rukmini Devi Arundel, and he was in the office at that point in time. And he explained to my father that she is being picked up and she is part of our dance section from last week, the previous week. And she was selected by none other than Dr. Rukmini Devi Arundel. So he said, would you like to continue or you want to take her back? My father said, yes, she is going to be here. She is your responsibility. And that's how I started, continued my journey. Again, no auspicious days, no auspicious time. I was just into that. And that was the happiest, I think, that 3 years was a really joyful, happy years for me. I really enjoyed my dancing. Every day, 1 hour after my school hours. That was beautiful. That's how I started learning. And then after I finished my Montessori school, primary, this one, they had Bessin school, which had from secondary classes also. But then conveyance was a problem for us because Kalakshetra was in Trivanmur, which was a little far away from Adyar at that point in time. And the roads were deserted. There were no public transport. My mother had to every time take me in the cycle rickshaw and drop me back. And all that was a big issue. So I was shifted to a state board school. So my dance for some time did not have, nothing happened for about 3 to 6 months. And one of the teachers from Kalakshetra, Jaya teacher, in fact, last year she had come here and these children also, all my students met her, and she was the one who was really instrumental in getting me back to dancing. There was this teacher, Prasanna who was doing her teacher's training in Kalakshetra. She had done her dance graduation, post-graduation, and she was doing her teacher's training. She was staying very close to my house, so Rukmini Devi Arundel gave her permission to take classes for me. Actually, in those days, Kalakshetra teachers or the postgraduate teachers training teachers were not allowed to take classes outside. It was a big no-no. But then she had given special permission to my teacher to take my classes. That's how I continued under Prasanna until my Arangetram.
That's such a wonderful story. I mean, you told me once long back that, I couldn't have done anything else, but I didn't know there was so much behind it. I'm also curious to know. I mean, today's times are very different. And today, how will a child know, or how will a parent know that, this is this spark that this child has, and, performing arts, dance, music is going to be the mark for this child? I mean, is there something that can help us? Because what is your observation as a teacher?
After all these years interacting with the children and working with the children, you just can't say anything. You have to, the children, the parents have to give it a try. Because I've had children who, had joined my classes because you can have your own musicians. Once you start giving performances, look for avenues. There are musicians who come to your rescue and who introduce you to a lot of cultural societies which give their auditorium free of cost to performers. All these things are there, but you have to prove your mettle. You have to prove that you're a good dancer, you're a passionate dancer. you're ready to learn, in that case, that's possible. That's definitely possible.
Great. So I guess just like any other line, we need to prepare ourselves rigorously for 5 to 7 years, maybe 10 years. And like any other profession, you have to invest in it financially also. And
Yes,
then you have to build a support network of logistics, musicians, so you
exactly.
can go out and become an established performing artist,
Yeah,
dancer, musician. If you
yes.
see, it's actually quite similar from any other profession. I don't see too many differences.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And one more thing about this profession is that you have to be updating yourself. Definitely, 100%. Because, whatever is written in the books, the grammar, all that, when you're learning, you're going to anyway learn all that. But then that upgradation comes, along with, in fact, in my 30 years, what I was 25 years back is not what I am today. I've definitely done a lot of, that is what everyday learning is a must in this dance form. A lot of people say, you call Bharatanatyam an ancient art form. It is an ancient art form, but the learning has to be done every day. In fact, for when I take the classes for my seniors, for example, there's a composition varnam which comes in the later half of your learning, and when I'm having my class where I'm going to be teaching a varnam, I really sit and do my homework for an hour, because these compositions, because today's children, during my days, my teachers used to talk about the composer, mention the name of the composer, the rag in which it is tuned, and then the tal to which it is set. And because we were at a stage where we knew about a lot of composers, the composers, because I was also trained in music, so I actually had an idea about a lot of composers. But today's generation, they have no idea about many of the composers, many of the compositions, and different language compositions. So what I have to do is, I have to talk about uh, I have to talk about the composer and that particular piece, the background of that piece, at what context he's saying this particular emotion is coming in these two lines. Why is it? Why is it? What is it he's trying to convey there?
Hmm.
Is that this particular ragam is applied in this? Why is it this composition sung in this particular ragam? Because it carries this kind of an emotion. Therefore, this raga he is composed this song. And all these things have to be explained, and the meaning of each and every word, you know. So, lot of homework has to be done. And in fact, when if you, I just want to mention about this particular incident that happened during my Arangetram.
Yes.
It was, I think, it was a particular song, a Tamil song, Padam, where, a couple of words about it is in praise of Lord Shiva. A couple of words in that Padam, I misunderstood it and I tried a different, it was after my Arangetram, tried a different Abhinaya in that. It was one of my gurus, Dhananjayans, who came after the program was over, came to me and corrected me, like, this is not the meaning of the song, this is the meaning. It is that point in time I realized that I have to really do a lot of research before I choreograph a piece.
Right.
So these things did happen for me to understand that I have to upgrade myself and I have to be really, doing a lot of background check and research to present my items.
Right. Right.
So, what is it you want to know about my Arangetram Vidya? Tell me.
So, a lot of people have, they don't have an understanding. Firstly, because we have people from different backgrounds, Arangetram is the first performance that a Bharatanatyam dancer does, the public. Then there are different, understandings about its importance. Can you just help us highlight, because performance is so important for an artist? So please share your perspective.
Rangetram, you can call it as a graduation ceremony.
Mhm.
Just as any language, I always give this example. See, for example, you are studying English, and you are in your syllabus. What happens is there is a poetry of a certain poet, and then you would study poetry of a different poet, and about 5 to 6 poetries, and some a novel is being prescribed and you read that novel, and these things happen and your syllabus is done for your graduation. Is that English language? That's it? No, isn't it? So maybe that graduation is a point in time where it is nothing but your teacher telling you that you're ready for a public performance, a full-fledged Bharatanatyam performance. It's just an announcement by the teacher that you have reached this level where you are ready to perform. That's
Okay.
so you have learned the basics. That's it.
Okay. So it gives the child and the parents confidence that the child can perform publicly. And there's obviously a lot more to learn and
Yeah, it
perform.
is not an end. It is just a beginning of the dancer as a performer.
Right. So it's the beginning of the journey of a performance artist in Bharatanatyam, in a way, if I would. Does that sound right? Yes. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. And Bhavani ma'am, I want you to share when you started to teach in Chennai as a teacher, and you had a small group of like 5 students, what you shared with me. And then you grew. I mean, it's so many students. Can you share that journey? Because from that's something I'd love to hear about.
No, actually, if you call them challenges, my challenge started immediately after my Arangage.
Okay.
But yes, I had my Arangacham when I was 14 or 15. Okay, I was in 10th. Yes. It was a very it was a great moment for me because I had completed my teacher Prasanavadani told my parents that I was ready for an Arangetram and they were very happy, and my father immediately went to this beautiful auditorium Bharati Vidya Bhavan in Mylapore. Mylapore is the hub, the center for music and for dance and music. So he blocked this auditorium. He told them Dr. Rukmani Devi Arundel might be coming. So, they said, we'll block 3-4 dates for you. And my father said, one of the dates I'll ask, we call her Atte. Atte is Bua, aunt. That's how I used to call Rukmani Devi Arundel. So he went to Atte and he told her, Atte, we have booked this auditorium. Prasanna has said that she's ready. So then she said, it seems, so you have found a place which is better than Kalakshetra, is it? He was shocked. He said, what? She said, no. Bhavani's Arangetram will happen only in Kalakshetra, and I'm going to preside that Arangetram. So you better cancel that booking and come. And that's how, so that was a big honor for me. Even before I did my Arangetram, I thought, I have already done so much in life, because something like this coming from Atta is great. So I did my Arangetram very beautifully. That is what I was thinking. And then towards the end of the show, and I must mention this was done in Kalakshetra. So 90% of my audience were the teachers in Kalakshetra, graduate students, postgraduate students, and it was full of artists. And 10% was my my friends and our relatives. Rest 90% was like that, and I was very happy. And there was this one student who came to me and said, "You know what? You did well, but when you were keeping your Natya Rambam, your left hand was little lower than your right hand." That was the kind of precision the artist was sitting there and watching wanted from a dancer. it was, and the Arangetram was over. My teacher was very happy, and we were planning something. My teacher was also not, she was just about 10 years older. So we were planning to perform together. So I was, that was another an award for me. Performing with my teacher was the greatest award I could ever think of. But it so happened about less than a year after my Arangetram, my teacher passed away in a very bad accident. So I was totally. I thought I cannot dance. My dream totally shattered. And I thought, this is the end of my dancing because I was so close to her. I was seeing her thrice a week, for 2 hours. And we used to share a lot of things. And suddenly this happened. I said, I'm going to stop dancing. It's not going to work for me. And after my Arangetram, in fact, Atte had asked my father to send me to Kalakshetra to do my graduation and post-graduation in dance. And my father had taken her permission for me to complete my 12th. So he said, once she finishes her 12th, I'll come bring her to you. But before that, this happened, and I said, I'm not dancing anymore. And then it was my teacher's mother who literally blackmailed me. It was an emotional blackmail for me. She said, Prasanna wanted to make this institution huge. And if you're going to say this, then she will be really disappointed with you. She has so much hopes in you, and she was so happy with your dancing and things like that. Now, if you're going to say this, you're making her very unhappy. And that is when I realized that maybe I should continue. And then, what she said, she said, why don't you start teaching for the younger ones who are in this class, who are still, and I was really, it was very difficult for me. And, I still remember, I used to put a mat for my teacher and then one more mat in front of her. And we used to keep the wooden block. You must have seen that to do the tap.
Yes.
So I used to put those two mats, put that wooden block also, and I'll sit next to that. And I used to clap my hand to teach them the adavus. Because I couldn't hold that stick. I thought I have not reached that caliber, or I just can't do that. That is how I started teaching. I was all of 17. And that's when my teacher's mother, she requested Dhananjayans and Arya Lakshman. They were all stalwarts, and they were all from Kalakshetra, and they had started their institution. They had come out of Kalakshetra and started their own institutions, and they were huge artists. And they all knew me. They all knew Prasanna, my teacher. So they agreed to teach me. So they used to send their senior students, or sometimes I used to go there to learn these compositions from them. And then I realized, each teacher was very different. Though we were all from Kalakshetra, each teacher had a different methodology. Each teacher taught each item in a different style. There was a little bit of their, style in it. And that I understood when I learned from them. So that is where my challenges started. I could never compete with their students. I was an outsider. But then I had to give my best because I had to take care of my teacher's name. I can't allow anybody to say, oh, Prasanna student, okay, she's okay. I cannot allow anybody to say that. So I had to really put in 200% to get there. So my challenges started there.
Wow.
My challenges really started there. But in fact, even now, the wooden block which I have is my teacher's. Finally, at some point in time, I started using it, but that's the reason why I have named my school Prasannalaya, and that is Bhavani's Prasannalaya.
It's a beautiful, touching story. And I think now one kind of understands when we say Guru Shishya relationship.
Exactly. That has to.
I think that's something that I could kind of feel goosebumps as you told us your story, the Guru Shishya relationship. Very touching story, Bhavani.
That happens only in these art forms. That's what I always feel. Maybe I don't know school teachers might, or the subject teachers might feel, may not like it. But, I feel, this bonding is something. In fact, I always tell my students when I'm getting them, as when you speak about this arrangement, it is very important in every dancer's life. You know why? When we are working during this arrangement time, that 1 year or 8 months or 1.5 years or whatever it is, there is a beautiful bonding between the student and the teacher, because the student has to give her 200%, as I said, and I have to see that a child shines, and she brings out her best on stage on that particular day. So I walk an extra this one, and she has to do that. And we need to have an excellent understanding, because there will be moments where I'll be expecting something from the child, and she's not able to give it, and I can't shout at her, or I can't scream. I cannot just say, okay, you're not getting it, you're not giving your best, that's it, enough. I can't do that. I must now try to find out what is stopping the child from giving her best. What is that she has not understood? What is that I have not uh, explained to her clearly? That is when, that bonding comes, that we come little closer to each other, and whatever I give them, they, it multiplies, and when they do it, it is all the more beautiful. And that magic happens on the stage when you see the Arangetram. And every Arangetram that way is very special. And that also teaches the child how much she has to work to, that is just a benchmark. She has to reach above it. That is not enough. That's just an Arangetram, isn't it? So that teaches a child how much she has to work. She has to give. So that is very important, actually. But also, when I say this, I also want to say that these expensive Arangetrams are not good at all. Giving dinner, lunch, keeping a very huge auditorium, there'll be hardly 50 people. And, you book an auditorium with 400 seats. And, the invitation cards are huge, like a wedding card. Each card is about 100 rupees. And you get the best photographer in the field, he charges you. All that is.
Yeah. I really get 2 points from what you're saying. Two. One is the teacher needs to connect with the child at the heart level.
Yes,
it's only when you can do that you can teach them the art form and motivate them. So, for those of us who want to take this up. The second thing is that everything doesn't need to be done in this elaborate manner. Keep it simple and keep it beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah, I really understand that. And that's very good advice, actually, for many of us who, as parents also.
And also, Vidya, this point in time, I want to tell you one more thing. And there are people, who come and ask me, ma'am, I am 30, I'm 25, I'm 27. Is it the right time to start? Or can I pursue this? And I have children who come, and even parents who come and tell me, she's kind of heavy set. Will it be possible for her? Forget about all this. This is an art form where anybody can learn. There are no ifs and buts. It was my time, even my time, that never used to be in Kalakshetra, never used to be like that. I was always dusky. Nobody said, dusky people cannot dance, cannot do what, makeup won't look nice, you won't look nice. Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. No. Today's world, though, it is totally not applicable. You have children have such a lot of freedom to choose their. I, in fact, see a lot of children who take up, they do one certain subject for their graduation, and once their graduation is over, they want to do something else. They totally change the field and go to something else. So dance is something which you can start at any time in your life. And only thing is, there are certain things you have to do. Like, when I say you start doing yoga to get little more flexibility, you have to do that. I give you some exercises. I tell you start doing it on everyday basis. You have to do that. Right. In fact, last year, we had two of our students who are housewives, who are mothers who are professionals who performed their Arangetram, who were not in their 15, they were on in 20s or anything. They did a beautiful Arangetram. I was so happy for them. Everybody was happy for them.
Yes, I attended it. It was
Yeah,
magnificent.
so see, the most important thing is your passion, your dedication, and hard work.
Right, right. Passion, dedication, hard work, physical fitness, and
Physical fitness
commitment.
comes when you're dedicated, and the dedication comes, have to be physically fit.
Right.
Ah,
And
that's
I really like your point about people saying, you're too short for this or too tall for this or too skinny. And
exactly,
that's unnecessary, really, because an artist is an artist at heart. And
exactly,
they
exactly.
have it. And it doesn't matter what proportion they are, they'll perform beautifully. So, yes, and even for some reason, even for actors or actresses, one ends up looking at looks, but that's not the core of what the person is doing. It's the emotion and the ability to convey the message. So,
Absolutely. Language, I don't think you should know Tamil or you should know Sanskrit. That is not the case. If they are learning different languages, it is always good. They always say, when the children learn multiple languages when they are very young, I don't know, they are very smart, or they are able to. I don't know. I read it somewhere, but you don't have to know all the languages. But when you said about me, knowing a lot of languages, I don't know many languages. But the only thing is, since I've been singing for a long time, and I've been choreographing and dancing, performing for a long time. I have come across lot of songs, compositions in different languages. For example, certain words are repeated in many of the compositions. So what happens is, when I come across that word, I know the meaning of that. And 2-3 words, if in a paragraph, 2-3 words you are familiar with, then you basically understand the meaning. But whenever there is you are supposed to be doing a choreography, you have to really go. And now to you have so much, you can just Google, you can just translate. And but what you should do is, you should know about the composer, you should know about the context of that particular song, what this one, and any keywords where you can elaborate. That you must do, and you must be ready to do that research. That's more important. Forget about the language, it can be any language. In fact, when Vidya was talking about the challenges, when I was in Bombay, I had this challenge, from Chennai, born brought up in Chennai and teaching in Chennai. It was a cakewalk for me. When I moved to Bombay, everybody was talking in Hindi, and whenever I was presenting any dance performance, it was like, okay, done. You know what? That challenge I changed into an opportunity to. I found a friend who was a part of the Hindi department in my husband's company, and I used to sit with him with every choreography, every bhajan I did in Hindi, and he used to explain to me the name, the meaning of the words, the background story, and things like that. That was so interesting. It was a learning experience for me. And then I also started venturing, like, I thought, why should I only be doing in Carnatic music? Why not, try to reach the audience? And then I did, and I also started doing some social thematic presentations, like something on nature, women empowerment, to reach the audience. That's what language is not a barrier. Music also, genre is also not a barrier. And in fact, I did nature to Mozart.
Wow.
Yes. And my audience, when till date, if you go to that colony, like any of my friends who are staying anywhere, when I say hello, say, Bhavani, we cannot forget your nature. That music and Bharatanatyam, and we see that beautifully. It was really an experience for me and for the audience. So learning a language and not knowing a language is not at all a barrier. You don't have to worry about it.
So what I really get is that, if you are a performing artist, to connect with your audience, you have to connect with your students. It's not the language really, and it's not
Exactly.
just classical. Because when ma'am said that she did Mozart, I mean, she's taken off a totally different genre of music. So if you're a performing artist and if you are teaching, you have to connect with whom you're performing for and whom you're teaching. And language is just the mode of communication and not to be seen as a barrier. So for all of us who want to look at performing art, then that is the crux. And that is how we will be able to build our credibility. I mean, this is what I gathered as one of Bhavani ma'am's very, very great strengths. And that's how she's been able to have such a huge audience and students from all over the world.
Yes.
So it's this. If you want to be a performing artist as a career, it has to be a passion and not just a job.
Exactly.
It has to run in your blood, and you have to be breathing and thinking about how to improve your performance and how to learn and how to help others. If you are there, I feel then your heart will beat for being a dancer or a musician. So it actually boils down to passion, learning, discipline, and having the best guru, which we're all blessed to have.
Actually, music is very important. You don't have to have a great voice, but you must learn music is really important. Or at least, even if you're not, you do not have time, or you don't find a teacher, or you're not too keen to learn music, but when you're learning dance, side by side, whenever you are learning a composition, try to learn that composition, learn to sing that composition. You must learn to sing the composition. That is very, very important for you. For example, if I can give you one example, see, the music, I'll just sing one line and explain to you. There is this Kannada song which goes like this. Krishna ni bhegade paro. So what you do, Krishna ni, come quickly is the song, is the meaning of the song. Okay. So when I sing Krishna ni bhegade paro, then the singer is singing the second time like this. Krishna ni bhegade paro. She's giving a variation. So how do you do it? Krishna ni bhegade paro. That comes if you have little bit of knowledge, music knowledge. So when when she's singing that, you can do the same bhavam with a little more variation that suits the way the music, that line is sung. So for that, you either learn music properly in a very proper way, or at least when you're learning the particular piece, give little more time to learn to sing that piece. So that when you are singing for a live music, when you will have a good understanding with the singer. And today's world, it's also important to learn the stage setting, how to present yourself on the stage, how the stage should be. In case you're doing a thematic presentation, see that the background, you have something, you put up something to, give a feel that you're going to be presenting this. And then the lighting is important. There are a lot of people who can share their knowledge with you. You can go around and you can find out that. And then comparing is really, really important as far as I'm concerned. Because, you might have prepared for a certain performance and you go there and you see a very different audience. Okay. So you are prepared. And now when you see the audience, you feel, for some time, for some reason, for example, you are expecting a lot of children, okay, as your audience. And you go there and you see a lot of parents also. So you cannot give an introduction to your dance and, so that only the children understand. You have to give something for the people who are sitting there. So you should be in a position to add, subtract, change. And introduction is very, very important. Though you can express whatever you want to express through your dance, but this comparing or your introduction gives lot of weightage to your performance. So for me, apart from the stagecraft, apart from your dancing, your music knowledge, this is also important. Comparing is really important. In fact, stagecraft, when I say, I also would like to say about, mention makeup. Learn to do your own makeup is also very important. Every time you can't expect a makeup artist to be at your, he may not be available or something, he is going to be late. You just can't sit there, isn't it? So basic makeup skills are also important. See, earlier, when I used to perform, it was always stage performances. Everything was stage performance. We always expect the audience to be a little away from you. And whenever we express, you have to, our teachers used to say, thoda sa exaggerate karke karo, so that the last row people also can understand your bhavam. But today's world, you have these cameras, video dancing happening everywhere. So you should also learn to emote with without moving away from the frame. All those things also is a must in today's context. You must learn all that.
So how do you organize all the things?
Time management. That's it. You have to maybe on a Sunday uh, keep a diary where you write what you're planning to do for the next week. Don't write your this one for a month or anything, just for the week. So you write it down, like Monday I will do this, Tuesday I'll do that, then Wednesday. You just make a rough plan and then see whether you're able to stick to that plan. 2 weeks, you might struggle. Third week, say, you'll be able to do it. And in fact, my daughter had a teacher when she was in senior KG who used to always tell the children when they sit for their homework, she would say, you keep a clock next to them. You tell them that they have to finish their homework in this particular time. I'm giving you 45 minutes to finish this homework. Don't tell them just start the homework and do, because some children take about 2 hours to finish one single page, because mama has said do the homework, that's all. How much time may I do it is my prerogative. I'll do whenever I want to. It's not like that. You train them right from the beginning that this is the time I'm giving you to finish this homework. Your mother is not going to give a time where it's going to be very difficult for you to finish. No, it's not like that. So since you're old enough to do that, you do it for yourself. I'm going to dance for this much time. Don't extend your dance practice time. Don't extend your homework time. Don't extend your TV watching time. So plan it in such a way you can do n number of things. N number of things, I'm telling you.
Something that occurs to me, or something that people ask often, is how can we make performing art financially viable for us? That's something that comes up as a concern, as a mainstream concern. Is there something that you can help help us understand how we can do this? I mean, is it even a concern, firstly, or is it just in our head?
See, for that matter, any art form, needs this backing, isn't it?
Right.
So the same applies to, in fact, I used to tell my parents, these dance jewelry is quite expensive. Now we have this artificial ones and original ones. Original ones are silver jewelry, gold plated ones, and artificial are just some metal, but the look wise, there is some difference, but on stage, they don't look very different. And what I tell them is, if you want this original jewelry, which can last for about 30 years, 40 years, and if the child is planning to take it as a profession, or she wants to do it for a longer time, she wants to pursue it, then start buying it, for example, for her birthday. Why do you want to every time invest in a dress for 3,000, 5,000 rupees? On a piece of jewelry which is going to be helpful for her. So if you start doing that right from the day she started dancing, okay, Arangetram mein she'll be ready with the pura set. I'm telling you.
Right.
So these are small things which you can. And nowadays, recorded music is quite popular. Not everybody asks the invest money on the live music. This one that can be done.
Right, right. So there are ways of making it less, more
And in
affordable.
fact, there are some places where, since we are in Delhi, I can talk about this ICCR, and there are so many places where, they give scholarship.
Right. Right.
You can
Yes.
apply, get the scholarship, perform there. They have their auditions, you perform, and that can be done.
Right. And over a few years, it becomes something which is something that they can also earn from, which something becomes a
And
profession.
in fact, at some point in time, they can start teaching, which is really good. Really, you can start teaching, and whatever you earn, invest in your dance, perform.
Right.
You
Yeah.
can at least perform once in 2 months, once in a month, if not once in a month, once in 2 months. You save for a performance in an outstation festival,
Right.
isn't
Yes.
it? So all that is possible, definitely possible.
Yeah. This needs us to focus and to be, planned about it and seek. Yes. Any other closing words for our audience here, Bhavani ma'am? Anything else you want to share? We've been very fortunate to have you here.
Closing words. Dance is a very beautiful art form. Enjoy doing it.
Mm.
Don't, think that, you are learning this art form for a particular purpose. Because, as I said, dance is not just a physical exercise. For a lot of people, they think when I continuously dance, I'm able to maintain a good, uh, I, I look healthy. I look good. I feel good. That's one important point. Yes, dance gives you that. Secondly, dance gives you a lot of happiness, joy. Whenever you feel little low or something, you listen to some music, you feel like dancing. You know,
Mm.
dance. That's the only thing you want to do when you're feeling low or when you're feeling really high, very happy also. And it is, dance gives you a lot of confidence. So there are 100 people in a room, there will be 5 dancers. And that gives you a lot of confidence. And uh, I have seen a lot of children, in my experience, I have seen a lot of children who even were very scared to speak a few words to a stranger, have become so confident.
Mm.
And that happiness gives you confidence. You're very happy doing something, and that gives you confidence. And if once you're confident, you can do anything. You can literally do anything. And
Right.
I have seen a couple of children in my 30 years, who had certain learning difficulties, or, you know, uh, some clinical difficulties. I'll not call them special need children or anything, but uh, they have had some issues, and the dance has cured them. They
Wonderful.
come out of it and have become not normal. I don't want to say normal. They've become extraordinarily good in their life. I'm not talking about their education, their studies, or these small areas. I'm not talking about these small areas. They've become extraordinary human beings, and they are doing great in their life. So that is, dance is something bigger, something more. It's not just an
Yes. I think
hobby.
I think that's phenomenal. I mean, just the fact that it has been so therapeutic for the students. It's been a phenomenal evening. Thank you so much, Bhavani ma'am.
Thank you, Vidya. It's been a real, it was an emotional
I can feel it.
Talk about dance, and I love my audience, and I love to talk. Talk to you.
No, I'm
Before
so
you are doing a great job. Okay, before we end this one, I just want to do something in dance and finish my this one. Okay,
more than welcome, ma'am.
I would like to thank you for this beautiful opportunity, and I wish you and Life Vidya lot of success. May you touch lot of children and make them better and more happier in their lives. Thank you, Vidya.
If you enjoyed this video, the LifeVidya series, and found it informative, do share, like, and subscribe to our channel for more updates. See you next time.